October 2023. Five friends from Delhi, college batchmates in their late 20s, set out on what was supposed to be a simple weekend trek. The Dronagiri mountain range in Uttarakhand. They'd done this kind of thing before. They had the gear, the permits, the experience. Everything was normal. For the first day and a half, things went smoothly. Their photos showed them smiling, laughing, wrapped in sunlight and mountain air. By the second day, they'd reached a high ledge overlooking a valley so deep, it seemed to swallow sound itself. One of their last videos was taken there. You can hear them laughing, one of them pointing the camera at a huge, dead tree leaning over the cliff's edge. A voice says, "Let's send this old thing flying." More laughter. A few shouts. The sound of boots scraping rock. Then cracking wood. The tree tips. It falls, vanishing into the mist below. Silence. Then the video ends. That was the last anyone ever heard from them. When they failed to check in that evening, rescue teams were dispatched. Their tracks led right to that same cliff. The ashes of a campfire, scattered gear. But beyond that point, nothing. No footprints. No signs of struggle. Just emptiness. The locals refused to help the search teams go further. They spoke in hushed tones about something ancient, a devta that dwelled in those upper forests. Not a god, not a demon, something older, a guardian bound to a tree. And the legend said, if that tree is disturbed, the forest resets. Most people dismissed it as superstition, until 3 days later, something impossible happened. All five of their phones, silent since the day they vanished, pinged briefly from deep inside the forest. No trails, no human paths. Then nothing. Silence again. Weeks later, during an extended search, one of those phones was found, half buried in moss near a stream. The battery was dead, but the memory card was intact. A single corrupted video was recovered. The footage was unstable, glitching, almost unreadable. But investigators described what little they could see. The friends running through darkness. Distorted forest sounds, like branches cracking underwater. And then a shape. A tall, twisted figure, moving through the trees in ways no human ever could. The video ends in static. To this day, none of the five have ever been found. And if you ever hike near that ledge, the locals will tell you, don't linger when the sun starts to fade. Because sometimes, when the wind dies and the forest goes quiet, you can still hear them. The laughter, the crash of a falling tree, and something else moving in the dark. The wind returns, a faint echo of laughter, then silence. I can remember almost every little detail of this crazy encounter me and a friend had in the woods that still sends shivers down my spine when I think about it. Back in May of 2020, when COVID first shut all the schools down, I was a senior in high school, and me and this one friend would hang out at their house almost every day. This friend lived in a nice small town in South Jersey and lived in a very small neighborhood. The neighborhood was really just two side streets that connected at the top and made a rectangle, and behind it was all woods and no houses in sight for miles on miles, except for one small side trail that led to another small neighborhood off to the right of this one. One night around mid-May we were chilling, and I remember seeing a skateboard in their garage and wanted to learn how to ride one. So we grabbed it and went to the back connected street right at the wood line, and there was a small hill in the road, so I could get practice. And when we got to the hill, which was only like a 2-minute walk, I noticed a path in between two houses on the back street and was curious what the trail was. Then I kept practicing going down the hill and ended up hit the smallest pebble known to mankind and fell and fractured my wrist. Fast forward a day, and the following night I brought up that path into the woods and asked my friend have they ever been back there, and their response was somewhere along the lines of, yeah, I go for walks back there at least twice a week. We both thought it would be a fun little adventure, but all I can say now was it was going to be the complete opposite. We both brought small handheld flashlights and didn't use them until we passed both houses on each side of the trail entrance. And like I mentioned earlier, there was a side trail that led to another neighborhood, and we didn't feel like going there and decided to go off trail and go deeper in the woods. Another decision that would later turn on us. After walking deeper in for about 5 minutes, we heard what it sounded like something was crunching a bunch of leaves in front of us. We both stopped and shined our lights in the direction, and saw nothing, both thinking it was a deer or something. After that, we decided to go in a new direction away from the crunches, and another 5 minutes we heard the same crunching noise in front of us again, shined our lights again, and saw nothing, and at that moment it started to rain slightly. Both of us, being a little creeped out, knew something or someone was down there with us. I had a bad feeling and said quietly, we need to get out of here ASAP. But our dumbass went off path twice, and when we finally got back on the original path, all I remember was hearing the same crunching noises of sticks and leaves behind us again. At that point it started to rain pretty hard, and we started speed walking, and next second I decided to turn around and look, and all I saw were 4 flashlights coming right at us, almost running. And after that is when we started full-on sprinting, and somehow managed to run right past the exit of the trail back to the road in the neighborhood. And we were really about to try and climb one of the house's giant fences to get out of there, but me with a fractured wrist wasn't going to go well with that. So the only other way was to run back towards where the lights were, and surprisingly they weren't there. They were gone. We got a small sense of relief, but were still a little freaked out. I ended up being the first one off the trail onto the road, and my friend decided to casually walk out, and I kept telling them to move faster. And then next second all I see were about 4 separate flashlights running again, coming behind my friend, and that's when I yelled to run, and luckily they did. I remember full on sprinting down the street, and going around the corner, I turned around to see what it looked like were 3 to 4 people standing near the entrance, not moving, and mainly seeing them from a dim street light that gave off just enough light to make out some figures. We ran back to their house, locked the doors, and felt relief knowing we were safe. To this day I refuse to ever go near that trail again, and wonder who those people were and what their intentions were. Me and my friend started to talk and give solutions of who they were. If they were cops, they would have announced themselves, and why would they be deep in the woods and no cop cars around? So that immediately eliminated them. No one followed us back down there, since the noises were first in front of us. It couldn't have been another group from the side trail, because we would have seen them coming down. Whoever it was were most definitely already down there before us, and had to be watching us for quite some time. Not a single word from them was spoke, and they were chasing us. I still strongly believe to this day, whoever they were definitely didn't have good intentions if they were to actually get to us. Sorry this might be a lot, but I haven't really talked about it to many people from fear of judgment or something else, so I'm here now sharing a real scary encounter we had in the woods. I worked the night shift driving a taxi in a small town. Most nights are boring, just drunk students or tired workers heading home. But last Friday was different. It was close to 2:45 a.m. when I got a call from dispatch. A pickup request from the old highway outside town. Weird. That road had been closed for years after a landslide. Still, money's money. When I got there, the fog was so thick I could barely see a meter ahead. My headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside, a woman in a dark dress, soaking wet, staring blankly at me. I rolled down the window and asked, "Need a ride?" She nodded once. She didn't say where she was going, just sat silently in the back seat, dripping water onto the floor mats. Her face was hidden by her long hair. I started driving, but the GPS wouldn't load. No signal, no clear destination. The woman simply pointed forward whenever I hesitated. After what felt like hours, we passed the town's edge and headed toward the forest. Finally, my nerves broke. I glanced into the rearview mirror to speak to her and froze. There was no reflection, only the wet imprint of where she sat, slowly soaking deeper into the fabric. I turned around. The back seat was empty. The air smelled like earth and something rotten. Panicking, I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. Out in the trees, I saw her, standing there, head tilted unnaturally to one side, water pooling around her bare feet. She pointed again. At me. I floored the gas and didn't stop until I reached town. The next morning, the dispatcher called, furious. Said I had ignored 2 more pickup requests from the same location. But when I checked my ride history, there were no requests logged after 2:45 a.m. There was just a note under my profile. Last passenger, undelivered. I haven't driven at night since. But sometimes when I'm parked, my back seat still feels damp. And in my rearview mirror, in the corner of my eye, I swear I see her sometimes. Still waiting.